One of the most fulfilling parts of teaching the Reparations Won curriculum is that it's a really important opportunity to connect Chicago's history to current events. Students have really enjoyed making that connection between issues impacting their community, such as police violence, and then really asking questions and going deeper to figure out what the roots of that violence are. I think that the culmination of the unit where students have to propose a memorial in response, a memorial that or some kind of art piece or public monument tends to get a lot of student engagement. For me, I felt very prepared to teach this curriculum because before I became a teacher, I was an activist in Chicago. So, I mean, witnessing the movement to win justice for Laquan McDonald, for example, witnessing what happened with the Jason Van Dyke trial, for example, and also like myself still being a relatively young person in 2013 when the 2013 Black Lives Matter protest happened, from Ferguson, Missouri. For me, it was like those experiences that really shaped my understanding of what the role of teachers can be and what the role of public schools can be in providing spaces for students to learn about police violence, police brutality, and systemic racism, and give students those genuine and authentic opportunities to ask questions and think about what it would take for their communities to be safe and empowering places to live. Teachers in Chicago are aware that anti-racist education is under attack right now, with multiple states banning curriculum that talks explicitly about systemic racism and the histories of people resisting racism. So I think Rep One is a really important example of how teachers, students, communities, and activists in social movements have partnered to advance a curriculum that is required and is something that, I think it's really important for people to know that not only the history of the reparations ordinance, but the fact that activists and survivors wanted to include an educational component, that part of justice for survivors is not just at the individual level, but at the citywide level, that young people in Chicago are going to learn about what happened to them and are going to have the opportunity to meet and interact with survivors who are still with us, and learn from their stories. So I think in this moment where empowering relevant anti-racist curriculum is under attack in a lot of other places in the country, this is an example of how it takes a movement for racial justice and educational justice to push back against that. Some of the impacts that I've witnessed are, students really appreciate that their teachers are taking the time to figure out how to teach this curriculum deals with very traumatic and difficult topics of violence, people surviving violence, racism, police brutality. And I think that students really appreciate that they're being trusted to handle these very difficult topics in a mature way, that teachers are providing space for students to emotionally process this information, as well as focusing on, the academics of how can we read and write about this history. I think it gives students the opportunity to experience school as a space where they can learn about difficult history, as well as challenge those things. I think for some of my students, it's been like possibly one of their only opportunities where they get to question things that are taken for granted about school. That school is just where we learn about history and take a test on it. This curriculum is really about engagement and students playing an active role in fighting for change.